Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the United States presidential election. Specifically, we're going to talk about the previous week's vice president debate. That's right, the running mates of both candidates went at it in a debate earlier this week, and it got pretty interesting and a little bit controversial. Nowhere near as heated as the president debate from the week before, but it was an interesting watch to say the least. We're going to recap it today and specifically talk about some of the crazy ways people are trying to defend Kamala Harris. Yes, it appears Kamala Harris, the Democrat VP candidate, pretty much lost the debate. You could tell by the way they're reacting to things afterwards. They're complaining, saying that Mike Pence was inappropriate. He was offensive. They're trying to play the girl card and say, oh, he was interrupting women during the whole debate because not only was he debating a female candidate, the host and moderator of the debate was also a female. So he was kind of cornered by these girls trying to make him look bad for being a male and being like toxic. And that's come out in their criticism. And to me, that just shows right out the gate that Kamala didn't win. She did a bad job. If they have to defend her and use the girl card and play this whole victim thing with her, you know that she didn't win. She didn't do a good job. Pence was strong. He was confident. The numbers and facts were on his side, as they're always on the conservative side as of late. And yeah, basically Kamala, my first impressions were she was really just kind of like crass and inappropriate and not very like presidential or vice presidential. She was making faces the whole time like a little kid, like kind of grinning and making these weird faces. Like she couldn't help herself. She couldn't stay calm and collected and poised and professional. She just kept making these funny faces. And we're going to show some of that today. We're going to get into some of the defense and the people saying that, even going so far to say Mike Pence was mansplaining. That's right. A 2015, 2016 era buzzword from feminists is coming back to light in this day and age. Pretty appropriate since it rose to power around the time of the last election. Regardless, yes, we're getting to these details about the VP debate, why I think Pence won, and more soon. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. A strange video from Louisville shows a U-Haul truck unloading riot supplies to protesters, including riot shields, masks, banners, and signs. As things get more tense in this country, it's important to have the ability to protect yourself and your family, which is why I carry the Fighter Flare flashlight. It's a professional grade, tactical, ultra bright flashlight. It's solar powered too, so I don't need batteries all the time. It also has a USB connector so I can charge my phone or other devices anywhere I like. And it has other life-saving add-ons like an emergency strobe light setting, a compass, a wire cutter, and a glass-breaking hammer as well. Plus, it's been recommended by military, law enforcement, and emergency professionals. This is the only tactical flashlight I'll choose to protect myself and my family too. Not to mention, it's really wicked bright, as you can see by this demonstration. Here's a picture from their website. It's really bright, really sturdy, can be used for both lighting and saving your life and self-defense and stuff like that too. So I highly suggest you guys check it out and use code NoBS25 to get an additional 25% off. Check out the link below this video or visit fighterflare.com, and don't forget to use code NoBS25. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's talk more about the VP debate. Here's the first article about it. It says, Critics Notebook, Kamala Harris rises above a mansplaining Mike Pence in VP debate. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. Hollywood and all reporters basically are pretty much liberals. That's a fitting name for a liberal rag. And yeah, they're coming to Kamala's defense. They're using, again, the girl defense, like, oh, she's a helpless woman. And I think it's time to just dispel that right away. Like, Kamala Harris is one of the most powerful politicians in the country. She's a longtime senator. She grew up in a privileged background. She never struggled. She's not even black, by the way. She doesn't have the African-American experience in her background. She actually comes from a Jamaican family who held their own indentured servants for many years. Like, her family has a history of running plantations in Jamaica, but that's besides the point. The real point is Kamala herself is not this victim. She's not this helpless lady who needs to be protected and coddled. Like, she's a high-profile politician. She's number 2 with the Democrats. She's rich, powerful. Like, I'm not trying to give her compliments. Like, I think she's terrible, and she has really bad ideas and terrible manners and a horrible way of speaking. But the point is, she's not this like victimhood woman that needs to be protected and deserves to be treated like second-class citizen almost. I mean, that's the other thing that's kind of inappropriate and strange about this react from Democrats. Them like putting this on her, saying she's a victim, saying that Kamala has some kind of like special needs or something that need to be met. It's really low-key offensive. It's really not giving her credit. It's not treating her like equals either. It's like against all that feminism supposedly stands for. But this is just more proof that they're not really about equality. They're not really going for a fairness thing. They want special treatment. So that's why it's coming down to this. That's why they're using the girls against Pence. Pence is, of course, got that kind of demeanor. He's a family man. He respects women highly. He doesn't even like meet with other women besides his wife unless it's in professional public settings. Like he has all these rules. He's a very conservative, very Christian guy. And that's why he's well respected in conservative communities. But that's why Democrats also want to play this girl versus guy game against him and try to make him look like a sexist or something when it's just not true. He was actually really respectful in that debate, like played it super cool, super calm. He said, you know, I'm honored to be speaking with Harris. He thanked the moderator and the college they were performing at. I mean, he did a world-class act there. And I think that's why it's easy to say that he won. You judge that and the reaction and the way they try to defend Harris and act like she was just like wronged in some way. It's like, no, Pence just had a good performance. That's how you win a debate. Like you can't expect him to just lose the debate on purpose, like take a dive because he's facing against a girl. Like that's just totally ridiculous. And it just goes to show the messed up way the left is thinking. Now, before we get to this article, here's another example of some defenses. You see here, Matt Walsh collected a few examples of people saying mansplaining too. So this whole mansplaining meme is really getting traction this week. First, you have Kathy Yan said Pence needs to stop mansplaining. This is like a Hollywood director. She, I believe, directed that terribly awful Birds of Prey movie, that feminist woke garbage. And next we have S.E. Cup says Pence's mansplaining, interrupting, smarminess is at an 11 tonight. So this is S.E. Cup. She's like a fake conservative who works at CNN. She's a wolf in sheep's clothing, a Benedict Arnold, if you will. She's basically a liar, living a lie. And yeah, then these are all bad people. That's what I'm trying to point out. It's bad people on the left calling Pence out for mansplaining when it's not true. Like you're actually being sexist. Like if you say a guy explaining something is mansplaining, which is also like a derogatory term, that means you're in a way like hating on men. You're saying men can't talk. And what a better situation does a person have to explain themselves than when they're at a debate? I mean, that's what a debate was. Both people explain their sides. So to suggest that he's mansplaining at a debate is really, really ridiculous. I mean, the mansplaining term on its own, any way, shape, or form is bad and silly. But there is a way I could see it being used, like the most generous, like if I steelmanned their argument, mansplaining would be like, oh, if there's some obnoxious dudes who like explain stuff to people, usually girls, you know, they'll explain stuff to them like they're children. And if they do it in this obnoxious way out of nowhere, then you're like, oh, they're mansplaining. You know, if like, for example, if some lame dude went up to a girl at the mall and like explained to them how to order at Starbucks or something, you're like, oh no, watch, I'll show you how to order, you know, like just patronizing them. Then you're like, oh, you're mansplaining, like that's a little bit much. That's the best I could do to explain it. And I still disagree with the term, but that's a case where it might work. In this case, though, we're talking about a debate. Like I was saying before the explanation, I mean, this is a debate. You're supposed to be explaining your sides. Like, what else are you going to do? Like, it's totally ridiculous to say he can't explain during his debate. It's totally a cop-out. Next, we have a disgraced reporter here on the third quote. It says, I don't think VP Pence is mansplaining. Okay, so he's just going with the mansplaining thing. This guy's really old. He's a confirmed liar, too. He was disgraced. He was, you know, fired from his job. This is not a good person. And lastly, I don't know much about George Stephanopoulos, but a lot of people were noticing some mansplaining going on tonight. So, I mean, I don't know much about him, but he sounds like a loser. He's definitely at a biased network, and these guys are all just the worst people. And then the mansplaining claims, I mean, what even does that mean? It's like Pence is talking and he's a man, so he's mansplaining. You know, I know he was explaining points too, but it's like they're basically saying if you don't like just kiss a girl's butt and just agree with everything they say, you're mansplaining. I mean, what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to agree with Kamala? Was he supposed to let the moderator keep cutting him off shorter, even though she was giving more time to Harris? I mean, that was another thing we didn't even get to. There was another biased moderator, and these debates are becoming a total clown show. They're run by Democrats. They're pointed against Trump. They're trying to favor the Biden-Harris ticket. But really, I'm just saying, like, the mansplaining, what does this even mean? It's totally insane. Next, we're going to talk about some other parts of the debate that look bad upon the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's team. You see, there's one really bad thing that they have noted and not answered. It's about whether or not they'll pack the court if they're elected. A lot of Democrats are already threatening to do this. A lot of them are planning to do this. Essentially, what it means is if Joe Biden and Harris win, they're going to pack the Supreme Court and add in more liberal judges and just keep adding judges until they have a bunch of liberal ones and they totally pervert the whole system. Now, traditionally, there's been a couple different configurations and numbers for the Supreme Court, but for the most part, for a good long remainder of the whole country's history, it's had 9 justices. That's, 9, an odd number, not too big, not too small. They can have a quorum and have a discussion and blah, blah, blah. But if you keep adding them in, it dilutes the power and it ruins the whole process. And it's just a kind of tactic by the liberals to try and take over the court. And it's what they're going to do because, Trump just appointed his 3rd judge during his term. And that was just because of luck. I mean, it's not like something you can plan out since the judges are appointed for life. That means they have to either die or resign to lose their position. And whatever happened, some kind of twisted fate and good luck for our side. Trump won and he's appointed 3 judges now. I mean, the 3rd one is still waiting to be approved. Amy Coney Barrett is a great nominee. I believe she'll make it. They still have many months before they have to push that through, but it's pretty much a given. And that's why the Democrats are going to follow up and add more Democratic judges. And they're going to do that because they've been asked point blank, back to this clip, back to the debate. This is what Kamala was asked. She would not answer. They will not answer whether or not they'll do it. And that's because they'll do it and they don't want to deny it and then be proven a liar later. So they're just not going to say anything about it. And it's making them look really bad. So with that said, let's check out this clip so you can see what I'm talking about.
Susan are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about that.
Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take in that'll become the issue.
Would you seek to increase the number of U.S. Supreme Court nominees?
Okay. That's exactly what they want me to talk about. I'm not dodging the question.
He's totally dodging the question. And this is many examples, most of them from Joe Biden, but essentially Harris is having the same tactic. She's following the form of her, president leader, and they're just not answering the question. Joe Biden acts like it's Trump's fault somehow. They just blame everything on Trump. It's real embarrassing. And they're just like, yeah, this is what Trump wants us to talk about. It's like, no, that's because Trump wants to talk about it because we all want to talk about it. If you pervert the Supreme Court, that's like destroying one of the 3 branches of government. That's a big deal. This is something we need to know about. And basically we know now, we don't have a definitive answer from them, but via their dodging and them not admitting or denying, I mean, it just proves that they're very likely going to do it.
Doing is staying focused. If I answer the question, no matter which way I answer it, then that becomes the headline tomorrow.
Have you ruled out expanding the Supreme Court as president under any circumstances whatsoever?
I am not, and I know you're going to be upset with my answer, but what I'm not going to do is play the Trump game.
So it's either play the Trump game or they're saying, oh, I'm not going to answer because that's going to become the headline tomorrow. I mean, this is the most ridiculous response I've ever seen. And I think it's about to get worse because we're going to get it from Kamala again.
Should the Supreme Court be expanded?
You know what, I think that, first of all, Joe's been very clear.
Senator Harris, should Democrats...
They're just not answering it. They cut it off because they're just not answering it. It's just super sketchy, and it shows that they're not ready to address the real issues. They just want to play games like saying Pence mansplained or he interrupted women. Like, they're not really interested in the issues or talking about what's going on. That's why they just rant and rave about, climate change and the virus and try to scare people and fear monger and do this crap and call Trump and Pence racist or sexist. It's because they don't want to talk about the issues, and that's why it's important to end here and to keep that in mind. That about wraps things up. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Tell me what you think by commenting below. Did you watch the VP debate? Do you think Pence won like I did? And did you notice the terribly smug and awful faces that Kamala was making the whole time? Tell me what you think. Comment below. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.